Hey everybody, Link's Spirit here, and today I felt like, going over something. 2 days ago I put together this Hud Mock-up for Breath of the Wild 2, and I felt like going over the thought process behind it. Maybe it can help someone who may have been thinking about trying to put together a Hud mock-up. Pretty sure there's multiple ways to go about it, but who knows, maybe hearing something that one person did could help with it. So, the first thing that I suggest is choosing the image for the background. For Breath of the Wild 2, I picked this shot from the trailer, which has some effect over what the HUD is about. The overall style for it is still in the vein of Breath of the Wild. Very minimalist and stuff. The map is here. I don't really know what the area he's in this scene is supposed to be, so I just have it as unavailable. I could have put some of the other meters and stuff, like the date and sound, but I didn't really feel like putting it in. Just know that they could be there. Over here, you have your basic hearts. It's, for hearts, circles, and triangles, like for the C buttons here, it's just using the shape tool. It wasn't really difficult. As you can see, heart is right there. I didn't use default heart, I did have to adjust it a bit to get it to look more like how it does in Breath of the Wild. The magic meter here. Right here, where it's depleting, there's this glow here, which I guess is to let you know that, it's currently being depleted. It's currently going down. As you can see, I replaced the runes with whatever this is. We don't fully know, but there is speculation that this stuff could be the focus. One of the focuses of Breath of the Wild 2, like how the runes were in Breath of the Wild. So, I haven't replaced the runes. There's still the sword and shield icon on the C buttons. Didn't really think too hard when including that, just recreated what was there. I could have put a graphic to represent whistling for down on the D-pad, but I didn't. So, yeah. Then we get to this part, which is where most of the creative liberties were taken. This is where the most, most of them were. The way that the key buttons are structured is like Link's Awakening. That is also one thing I included. Well, basically I had the base image, I had and then I had an image of the HUD to get placement of some stuff, right, like the hearts. Obviously, because of the match meter, I had to move this part down. And then I also had this image of the control scheme, which did help to recreate the trigger and bumper buttons, L and R and ZL and ZR. And these base buttons here were based on Link's Awakening style. And yeah. So, going through the buttons, we have ZL, which is referred to as Focus by Breath of the Wild. It's the lock-on button that's been in 3D Zelda since Ocarina of Time. For that, I decided to give it an eye symbol. One thing that I tried to do is use symbols instead of words whenever possible. So that's my jump, which is on Axe in Breath of the Wild, is represented by this graphic. And if I go over to where A button's graphics are, I did make a running graphic, which was actually, this was originally on X because it was supposed to be a jumping graphic, but it ended up looking more like a running graphic. So I moved what button it was on. Yeah, it wasn't seen when I shared off the image, but it's there in the files. In the many layers of the file. That's, this file. Then we have L, which was used, which activated runes in Breath of the Wild. You'll notice that for L and A, and I'm using the Sheikah script, that's mainly because I have no idea what Link's supposed to be doing in this image. I have no idea. So I just used the Sheikah text as placeholders of well, text would be here in this instance, but I have no idea what it's supposed to be. The A button just says unavailable, as you might have seen if you looked over here when I toggled the dash on. L, that just translates to Ancient Magic. Also, you might have noticed that when I was looking through the layers of A again. There was the same Master Sword graphic here. Did I leave that there, or is that on all the other buttons? It's on all the other buttons. The reason why it's there is because I created Y first, and just duplicated that and moved it around as needed. Changing the letters of the buttons were as simple as going to where the text was stored. Since if I show you here, the letters here is just the text tool set to erase, and then grouped grouped inside of the circle, or the shape in general, which, erases wherever it is. So all I had to do to change it was highlight and just put a different letter in. It's not that difficult. Circles, they are set to overlay, which gives the effect that I wanted when it comes to this image. If the image is changed, it doesn't quite do that. Then we have ZR and R, which have items. That was another thing that I wanted to do, was show off the idea of bringing back items to Breath of the Wild 2. And that was a bit tricky. I was trying to figure out how to change the control scheme from Breath of the Wild. I was trying to figure out how to change these 4 buttons. I ended up leaving these 4 alone and just using ZR and R. Something that I could have done was moved sword, the Master Sword, to B, and then maybe jump to Y, and then just have A be more of a context action than it normally is. But because I couldn't figure it out when making it, I just decided to go with ZR and R, because those are the 2 things that I felt like I could easily change. ZR being the bow, and R being toss weapon. I felt like those were the easiest ones to get rid of. And these graphics, I had to put them together myself, my other ones. The way that it's done. So the beetle design comes from this piece of concept art that was shown off in a presentation. I forget what it was. Maybe it was the Game Developers Conference? I don't really know. But that's where I got the beetle design that I used. And the claw shots, while there is this grappling hook thing here, I like the design of the claw shots, so I just worked with the Skyward Sword ones for a base, and then tried to treat them in a way that I thought would work. And that's why there's the glowing claws here, on the beetle. And the spot where the chain is, it's meant to be a representation of the chains. You can see more clearly in the full size of the graphic. See there, it's I did my best to try and make it look like a chain with their I just felt like there would be gaps here in parts where it would overlap, so they might not properly convey chains like I wanted, but I thought it worked for it. You know, the beetle was just always very small. When making new graphics, like the hand graphic, I started by just recreating it from this scene, but it didn't have the perspective I wanted. I wanted to change the perspective. So I brought in the aid of Master Hand, which is where I got the thumb position, as well as, you know, the wrist. Put in the wrist. And then there's the, you moved around the shading to try and make it look good. At a full size, it probably doesn't look quite as good, but for the tiny icon that it becomes, I think it ends up working. Jump was taken from this, was recreated from that, with stuff like the hats taken out. It said, like, I would assume that, so his head's like somewhere there. Oh god, that's a lot of lag frames. Oh boy. Now let's... What's going on over there? That's odd. Well, yeah, so... there's that. So basically... yeah, that's sort of... what... That's sort of what... this concept was like. I probably didn't do a good job explaining stuff. It's, not something I'm used to, but... I'm trying. Okay, now I'm going to, show you... well, try to show you the design process for another mock-up, this one being for a hypothetical game, that being a Metroid Fusion remake. Honestly, a tricky thing for hypothetical games is getting the background image to use for the HUD. There was one potential piece that I could use, however, I think that it would imply that the game would be would be drastically different control-wise than the original. So I ended up settling with the best thing that I could get, which would be, as soon as it loads, this image of this screenshot from Metroid Other M, which I think this image is actually in the Nightmare boss room, so that's kind of ironic. Then also going to want a image of the HUD from the original, an image that has the HUD. The original, to try and reference later on. And then there's also something for inspiration, which I'm going with Metroid Prime for this. So let's see what we can do here. I'm actually not fully sure if I've said this or not, but I work with vectors. Personally, just what I could just use the square tool for this. Just a basic square. Grab that for now. Let's focus elsewhere, actually. Let's start simple. So let's see. And as you can see, I made the last energy tank a bit bigger, and I'm thinking I'm also maybe giving it a slight quality to just the color of it. Well, it's a start. However, there is more that can be done about it. Whoops. Let's group this together. Let's also save projects. You won't be able to see it, but one other thing that I can suggest to anyone trying to do a HUD mock-up is don't be afraid to ask for help. Ask for like feedback. That can be an important thing. Bloom might... Well, I say bloom. It's not really bloom, it's more of a glow. Maybe a bit too intense. Maybe... I don't know, I mean, full picture. It might be good. I might decide on whether or not I want it to be solid colors or not later. Nope. Wrong thing. After this, we are making another type of indicator for how full the energy is. Yes, we do have the counter here, but I don't know. Think maybe having another could be helpful. And I need to get a reference image now. One thing that you keep in mind is to get references as needed. This, I don't know, I feel it adds a bit more. To, the UI. Something that I could potentially do is add an indicator for what beam you have. However, in Fusion, your beam, you only have one beam. You can't toggle them, so would such a thing really be worth it? This is where some of the Metroid Prime stuff starts to seep in. Here we have a missile thing. I would think that, well, actually, basically when unselected, I would think that it would be like this, and then when you have it selected, what's visible and what's not is inverted. Just an idea. Now we also have the power bomb to do. First off, we need to change this number. Since Metroid Fusion has some aspects of horror in it, in some regards it's a horror game, not like a traditional one, but, you know. So while the enemy radar might not mean too much when it comes to more thing, I think a noise meter could. The SAX does react to sound. Okay, that's our waveform reference. Let's try something. Okay, it's looking like something can probably then to move these a bit closer to the map. Could probably do the same for gear. And I need to get one more reference image. If anybody knows or has any ideas for why I'm including a Metroid graphic, feel free to share what you think it would be used for. In the comments. Here I've decided to include a reference for the visor, as your health goes down, it might start to get cracks, you know, show signs of damage. Just a neat little visual. And then now it's time for the final detail. And that seems to about do it. The mock-up for the HUD is complete. Might just need to just to glow that a bit. There we go. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing how the design, what the design process I go through is like, and I hope I did a good enough job explaining it to all of you. It's a tricky thing, especially since, well, I've only really done it once before, so it's not like I'm really an expert at anything. If there's anything to take away, it's that what I do might not, what I've done for these might not be the way that you should go about it. It's just what I've done. Well, with that, I will see you guys later.